Okay, sorry about that. But here's a video on, using the quadratic formula, I'll go through this first example again. So A in this case is 3, B is 2, C is -6, and so we plug in to find these x-intercepts. So negative B is the first thing in the formula, so we plug in -2 because B is +2, plus or minus, square root, and B squared, I'm just going to go ahead and do 2 squared, and then -4 is always in the formula, times A, and then times C is -6. Okay, and then all over 2 times A. Okay, so then the first thing we do is what's inside the square root. So let's see, 2 squared is 4, and then we have really secret parentheses here and here. So we're going to do all that multiplication first, and we have 4 times 3 times -6 is -72, but then we also have this minus, so we get minus 2 minuses, which make a plus. And then I'm going to do the 2 times 3 is 6, so then we have -2 plus or minus square root of 76, because now we do 4 plus 72, and then we still have to divide by 6. Okay, then we go to the calculator, and the square root of 76 is about 8.72, and I want you to, like I said in class, round to 2 decimal places. So this is 8.72. So now we have to do 2 separate calculations, -2 plus 8.72, and then divide by 6, or we have to do -2 minus 8.72 and divide by 6. And that gives us, this one gives us the positive, and this second calculation gives us the -1.876. Okay. So make sure you give me at least 2 decimals, at least 2 decimal places when you round these. So then the second slide, we're talking about the discriminant, which is just the part that's inside the square root. So the b squared minus 4ac. And we want to check, there's 3 cases. If the discriminant is positive, then there's going to be 2 x-intercepts. If the discriminant is negative, there will be none. And if the discriminant equals 0, there will be 1 x-intercept. So 2 x-intercepts, 0 x-intercepts, 1 x-intercepts. Okay, so we'll go through the first case where the discriminant is positive, which is what we did on the first problem. So here, b squared minus 4ac, a is 5, b is 2, c is -1. And so I plug in to just the discriminant part. So b squared is 2 squared, and then minus 4 times a is 5, and c is -1. And we get this same 4 minus -20, which is positive 24. And since 24 is greater than 0, that's why we have these 2 x-intercepts. Okay, so this case 1, if the discriminant is positive number, any positive number, there will be exactly 2 solutions. Okay, if the number is not a perfect square, like 24, that's when we get decimals. But if the number is a perfect square, like 25, then that's when we get whole numbers, plus or minus. Okay. So again, if it's not a perfect square, that's when we get the decimals. So case 2, if the discriminant is negative, there will be no solution. Okay, and the parabola will look like this, or maybe, there could be a case where it's upside down and it just can't cross the x-axis. So let's see, the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. So in this case, a is 1, b is 2, and c is 6. So when we plug into this equation, we get b squared, so 2 squared, minus 4 times 1, because a is 1, and c is 6. And now, because of this, there's only one minus now. So 2 squared is 4, minus, and there's secret parentheses, because this is all multiplication. 4 times 1 is 4, times 6 is 24. And now look what happens. 4 minus 24 is negative 20. Okay, and remember from the quadratic formula, there was a square root above this. So if we take the square root of a negative number, this is not a real number. Not a real number. It's an imaginary number, which maybe you'll get to in some other class, but not my class. So we just say if you take the square root of a negative number, the calculator is going to give you an error, and this means there is no solution. No solution, no x-intercepts. The parabola must be either above or below the x-axis. Okay, so that's case 2. Case 3, if the discriminant is exactly equal to 0, then there will be one x-intercept and it will just bounce off the x-axis, and it will also be the vertex. So b squared minus 4ac. b in this case is 4, so we do 4 squared minus 4. A is 1 and c is 4, secret parentheses. So 4 squared is 16, minus 4 times 1 times 4 is 16, and we get exactly 0. Okay, so then when you take the square root of 0, of course you still get 0. And so that's why in this formula, when you get the negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, if the discriminant part was 0, this whole thing just goes away. Then all we have left is negative b over 2a, which gives us the x-coordinate of the vertex, just like we learned at the very start of chapter 4. So that's why there's only one x-intercept here. Okay, so then on the last slide, I just have a couple examples. How many solutions will each one have? And so in a question like this, all you have to do is check the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, and tell me which case it is and how many x-intercepts. So the first case, b is 4, so we're going to do 4 squared minus 4 times a is negative 1, and b is positive 1. So now we have 16. There's two minuses. Two minuses are going to make a plus. 4 times 1 is 4. So this case is positive. Okay. 20 is greater than 0. It's positive, so there's going to be 2 x-intercepts. I'm not asking you to find them in this particular problem, but I just want to know how many are there. So there's 2 in this case. So problem number 2, b squared. So this time b is negative, so we're going to do negative 6 squared. And we're still going to get a positive number out of that. Minus 4 times a times c. That's a 9. And so negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36. And we just have one minus left, so we're going to do minus 4 times 1 times 9, which is 36. And we get exactly 0. So this is the case where there's one x-intercept. One x-intercept. Okay, this is the case where the parabola just bounces off the x-axis. Okay, and you could see that we could also factor this. Right, two numbers that multiply to get 9 and add to get negative 6. That would just be x minus 3 times x minus 3. Okay, and if we set that equal to 0, this is intercept form, we would see x, there's only one value of x. It would be 3. Okay. And then case 3, you can probably guess. It must be one that we haven't done yet. So b squared, in this case b is 4, so b squared minus 4 times A is 2, and times C is 5. Okay, there's only one minus in this problem, so we're going to get a subtraction. 16 minus 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 5 is 40, and we can see we get a big negative number. Okay, so if we try to take the square root of a negative number, we get no solution. So this is the case. This is the case where there's no solution. You could write no solution, or you could write 0 x-intercepts. Okay, so I hope those examples help. The homework is quizzes, just practicing questions like this. Bye.